Do I drink coffee? Oh no, honey, this is why it's our come business today. I started drinking coffee when I was a little kid, but then I started getting sick when I hit around in my 20s. You know, the prime time when people start drinking coffee, that's when I had to stop. Well, my name is Louie. I am a graduate student. I'm a doctoral student in global education and leadership. And I also work at the University of Missouri, St. Louis. I am graduate assistant for Latino recruitment and retention. And I usually have to do like this because the title is so long that I forget. But really what that means is that I help students from the time they are thinking about going to college to the time they leave and go into the real world. So I talk to parents a lot. I help out students in their crisis that deal with school, but also in their personal crisis too, because that's kind of part of being in a university. And I love my job anyway. So today's my little topic deals with something that a lot of people grapple with, which is picking your major when you go to college. I call it the art of choosing a college major, because really when you're picking a major, it is not like something that you can do like on a checklist. It is really something that deals with your personality, your sense of self, what you want to accomplish in the world. It's kind of a big deal, and it's kind of a big topic. And it's almost like you have to look at, okay, this is kind of what I want to become, and then fit the college experience that can be kind of like little squares into that kind of big, huge topic. One of the things that I think makes me pretty good at talking about this is because my experience picking a major was not the most linear. Although right now I am working in higher education, my undergrad was actually in music. And I did my master's in history. So it's like people, they're like, well, how did that happen? And I mean, that's kind of how life is. But also all those skills that I learned in all my majors and all my studies have helped me now. And I think it's key that for students to know that that's kind of how it happens. It's not just like I pick a business major, I go into a business. It's not really like that. Really, all your experiences can help you come to a satisfying and wonderful career. My tip 1 is to breathe. It's okay to not know what you want to do. And that's something that's really hard for parents to see that. But really, let's think about this. Most, all programs have 2 years in which you have to more or less take general ed courses. The number of general ed classes that you take are 13 classes and 42 credit hours. That means that you have quite a bit of time to explore and to see what's out there. So it's okay if you do not know straight away what you want to be. Yeah, so you really have time. Don't think that you have to rush into picking a major and rush into everything. You have time. So tip 2, think about what you like to do and what sparks your curiosity. I have students who came into a biology class and they became very curious about how the eye works and decided to become an optometrist. And now they're in a pre-optometry program. I also have students who started working and not working, but saw their parents work as mechanics, etc., and decided that they want to be engineers dealing with machines, etc., so becoming mechanical engineers. I also have students who love dogs, so they decided to become veterinary, pre-veterinary, so they want to be veterinarians. Or people who really love to help sick people and are extremely caring, and they want to become nurse. So really, a lot of that deals with what you really love, and that should be the center of what you choose. It should not really be, and I hate to say this because parents sometimes don't like to hear this, but it shouldn't be that what your parent wants you to do, what your mom wants you to do. It really should be about you, because that's when you will truly become successful. I like to when thinking about this, sometimes I look at my experience. When I was a young kid, there were two things I liked. I liked to read, and I like to play violin, and I also like to watch TV and stuff and goof around. But those were the two main things that I was like, maybe I should look into those things as a career. And I started out, I went and I met with a professor, and I loved him so much that I was like, oh, I want to be like him, I want to play violin like him, etc. And that's kind of how I ended up picking my major. And although right now I do not work as a teacher, again, I've used a lot of the things that I've learned being a teacher, I used in my job. So my tip number 3, begin having conversations. For this, I always say, you can't be shy. You have to be okay with going up to people and asking for help. At UMSL, the university that I work for, which I hope that I mentioned earlier that I work for a university, we have a career center. And usually what happens when a student comes up to me having questions of their major, which happens very, very frequently, I send them to the career center. Usually what they do, the first thing they do is they have like these like personality tests to see, what are the things that you like to do, etc. And from then they have a person sit with you with your results and explain to you what are the things that it seemed that you were kind of pushing more towards, etc. I have a student currently who I love, who will probably watch this, so hello, who came up to me and she was like, I'm a computer major, I think information systems or something, but it's like in my sheet it says that I am all about taking care of people, like how do I make this work? And I sent her to, she went to the career center, etc. And then what I did was the second step, which was to go to a professional advisor. At UMSL, we have, in the College of Arts and Sciences, we have an advising center, which centers on students and their academic progress. And what this helps, it helps people actually graduate, because they really kind of like handhold you through the process of picking your courses, so you're not randomly taking courses like someone over here during her undergrad, but really helps you out. So that's another step. And then you can start thinking, well, maybe I should add a certificate in this one area because I want to do computers, but I also want to work with people at the same time. And there are ways to do those things. But it helps get your creativity going so that you can use the degree that you have and you don't feel like you wasted your time. So tip number 4, don't discard the humanities. What are the humanities, first of all? The humanities are academic disciplines that study aspects of human society and culture. So those are the histories, the languages, the literatures, and the philosophies. And the arts, too. I didn't put that in the PowerPoint, but the arts. A lot of people think that those jobs are not very marketable. We live in a culture that puts a lot of emphasis in the STEM careers, in the sciences, in the technology, and the business side. It doesn't really think that the humanities, the arts, are something that are worthwhile. However, let me break it to you, they're actually extremely important and can be very marketable too. Because the simple reasons that these are majors that deal with creativity. They are majors that deal with critical thinking. And right now in this job market that we have, that it's kind of like flexing back and forth, that people have to be very flexible, change jobs, change careers very often, it really helps to have a background that is flexible. Plus it allows you to know context. For example, in my life, I did my music degree, as I said before, and then I did a history degree. Originally, I wanted to be a history professor. However, things sometimes don't work out. I was offered this job working with students in the university, but the history job has really helped me out because my history background has really helped me out because I'm able to look at context. I'm able to see that a student that comes in front of me has a history behind him, may have come to this country over specific circumstances, may have chosen this neighborhood because of specific circumstances. And all those things help me help this student. Also, my music degree really helps me out every day in my life because a lot of my work deals with working with other people. It's about teamwork. And when you are a music major, a lot of your work is with other people. So it taught me and ingrained the fact that I have to work with other individuals and that those things are very important. Now, a lot of the issues that people have with the humanities is money. People go to business fields, etc., because they think they're going to make more money, and that's not necessarily the case. In fact, humanities graduates are less likely to be unemployed and underemployed when they first hit the market, and their salaries are comparable to other areas. So yeah, if you really are a person who's super into literature, that is super into art, etc., there are ways to make a career that will enrich your life and that will make you happy. So tip number 5, consider adding a Spanish major or a Spanish minor into your degree. There are many reasons why I say this, but I'll start with me. My parents, I came to this country when I was 10 years old, and my parents forced me by the hair to learn Spanish. They forced me by the hair to read in Spanish. My parents got papers from Puerto Rico just so I would read the paper in Spanish and got me books, etc. And at first, I wasn't really into it, because it was easier to speak English. But eventually, career-wise, and now, a lot of my work is talking to people in Spanish. A lot of it. So I suggest, for people who don't have pushy parents, and there's a lot of parents out there who believe and have this idea that, you want the kid to assimilate, so you're gonna learn English right away, you're gonna just talk in English in your house. And I understand that sentiment. However, in today's market, with a growing demographic of Latinos, it makes more sense if you really focus on that Spanish. If you had a situation that wasn't like mine, when my parents forced me, by the hair to know Spanish, well, guess what? In college, you can take Spanish courses. You can strengthen that. And adding a Spanish major, I looked into it, is 6 classes. So it's not, and you can test if you have some Spanish at home, you can test out of it. What does that add to your degree? Well, that shows an employer that you're bilingual and that you have studied the language, and that it can say, oh, this person can do presentations. This person can open a market for our job or our company. to deal with the Spanish speaking market. So you end up becoming, you end up becoming the hot tamale, you end up becoming like something that's great that can add to your company. And that's something that people really want. Tip number 6, there's a $sign attached to your decisions. We don't like to talk about that, but take advantage of the time of that general education. Take your time thinking about what you want to do. However, don't push it to the very last minute. And mainly because if you, like, on your 3rd year decide to switch majors, it's going to be an added cost because you're going to have to take a bunch of courses, etc. That's going to set you back. And you may add another year, etc., to your career. So if you have a little inkling that something is not right with your major, immediately tackle this ASAP. Don't wait until the last minute. Don't let it become an issue where you have to change majors and then waste a bunch of money. And remember, careers are not linear. So you may have a degree, like right now, computers, I'm not really super into it. But you may be able to translate that into something that is more you. So don't think that you're kind of put in a box just because of your major, etc. And yeah, most people, my last point, super important. Most people who graduate from college do not work on exactly what they studied. Finally, tip number 7, find people who do what you want to do and talk to them. Again, you can't be shy about this. If you meet somebody who is, for example, you want to be an advisor, or you want to be a counselor, or you want to be in a business, talk to people who do the kinds of jobs that you want. This is where the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is a great resource, because it's they have meetings, etc., with people who come in who have many different kinds of jobs. So you can find people who are engineers. You can find people who are professors, or who own plumbing businesses. I mean, you can see what the different things that people do, and you can talk to them about it. And most people, they're super open about talking about their paths, so you can learn a lot. Your future self will thank you if you make these connections and you talk to different people who have jobs that kind of look like the ones that you want. Because you may talk to that person and then decide, maybe this is not for me, So really, it's all about exploring, and it's all about making those connections. So anyway, I think those are my 7 tips. Yeah, there's 7. Thank you very much. And just as a final word, I think I said this already, but your major, your career, your life, they're not going to go in a straight line. Don't expect it to. Don't expect it to be a checklist, Be open, have your eyes open, and realize that being in college is a process that lends to growth. So, enjoy the classes that you have. Take the weird class that you're kind of interested in, because you never know what kinds of paths will be opened for you. So, anyway, my name again is Louie Negron, if you want to get a hold of me. I work in the College of Arts and Sciences. My number is 314-516-5590 if you want to get a hold of me. And if not, contact the Chamber of Commerce and they'll send you to me. So take care. Thank you.